Hi, and welcome to Coaching Voices podcast. I'm Pravin Sharma, an executive and leadership coach and consultant with over 2 decades of experience in the industry. I truly believe in the transformative power of coaching and the profound impact it can have on people's lives. In each episode, we dive into candid conversations with seasoned coaches, exploring what coaching really is and whether it's the right path for you. Together, we uncover how you can unlock your full potential and step confidently into leadership roles within your organization. And in today's episode of Coaching Voices podcast, I would like to introduce Heidi Fishbein. For almost a decade, Heidi has been a sought-after ADHD and Christian life coach, speaker, author, and leader. She holds a professional certified coach from the ICF and is passionate about empowering women and families to navigate life challenges with ADHD. Heidi integrates biblical truth and principles into her coaching practice, offering a unique and holistic approach that helps clients navigate life's challenges. Rooted in faith, she provides support, encouragement, and practical tools to empower individuals to unlock their full potential and achieve their God-given goals. Please welcome Heidi Fishbein into our show. Hi Heidi, welcome to Coaching Voices podcast. How are you doing this morning?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me here.
Yes, of course. And we'd like to extend our gratification from the entire Coaching Voices podcast team for you to come early this morning and talking to us.
Yeah, early morning is when I'm at my best. So this is the perfect time to connect.
Thank you. For many people who are in this coaching profession, what I've seen is there is some level of inspiration that happens to them to get into this career. What initially inspired you to pursue a career in coaching? And how did you develop your unique approach?
Yeah, I think, when I was reflecting on just our conversation and how that's going to go today, I was thinking about how did I get here to this very moment? And my journey started, over 10 years ago when my family actually started getting some ADHD diagnoses within our family. And I realized very quickly, I did not know a lot about ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And what I did know was it was really impacting our whole family, how we were functioning, how we were getting through the day. So very quickly, I said to my husband, I'm like, I need to learn more about ADHD so that I can be an advocate for my family, for my children, for myself, and also get through the day without the chaos and the craziness, right? So I was actually referred to an ADHD coach. And at the time, I had never even heard of a coach, nor did I know what that was. Of course, growing up playing sports my whole life, I knew what a sports coach was, but not an ADHD coach. So I endeavored on that journey. And I bought, 12 sessions, and I was on session 5 or 6. And I'll tell you, I knew in that very moment, this is exactly what I was called to do. The way that my coach supported me, my family, and just understood what I was going through and the pain that can be as a result of managing and trying to figure out ADHD. So in that moment, I knew this is what I had to do. And I actually stopped coaching and found a coach training program. And my first direction was the International ADHD Coach Training Center, which I am the assistant director of training at now. But I found that program. I started the program. And very quickly, I realized as a Christian, I wanted this coaching to really be filtered through that lens, that biblical lens. So of course, in true ADHD fashion, I decided to do 2 coach training programs at once. So I did a Christian leadership coach program in addition to the ADHD life coach training program. So I really felt so strongly and felt very convicted that God wanted me to combine my faith, my Christianity into ADHD life coaching to go out and really support women mostly, and families that really have walked or are walking the journey that me and my family have been through, and somewhat have come to the other side. We're always figuring it out. There's always new things that come up with ADHD, but yeah, that's really how I began, and really what has developed what I would say is my unique approach. There's not many in this space doing this exact work.
Thank you for sharing your journey as well as your inspiration. Now, for those who are listening to this conversation, if you're looking to become an ADHD coach, of course, there are some courses that are available for you. And, with that level of coaching experience, coaching practice, you can really make difference to other people's life, make that transformation happen if you're willing to go in that path. Now, for you as an ADHD coach, are you following any particular niche? Do you work with the kids or adults? What particular area that you focus on?
Yeah. So I primarily work with women. So women that are later diagnosed, that also have children that are diagnosed. So younger children in most cases. I do work with young adults as well. But mostly families that are really experiencing the challenges that come with managing ADHD. I also have the great privilege of working with a lot of coaches as well. So I kind of have those two different areas that I'm primarily focused on.
In some of my prior conversation with the ADHD coaches in Coaching Voices podcast, some of the coaches, they mentioned that there is a strong genetic component to the ADHD. Can you elaborate a little bit on that one, please?
Yeah, there's a really strong genetic component. And it's interesting because there are a lot of women that are getting diagnosed much later or having a misdiagnosis leading up until they have the correct diagnosis. And very commonly what we're seeing happening is kiddos getting diagnosed and then mom or dad or any guardian being like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I do all of those things that, that sounds just like me. Let me take a look, right? Because what we do see is the differences in how ADHD presents in, say, boys versus girls, men and women. The presentation is much different. And there is this stereotype of, the young boy running around, jumping off the tables, whereas we also have different presentations. And I can say that my little guy, he is running around, jumping off the tables. Whereas everyone else in my house, we all present a little different. So it makes sense sometimes that it gets missed, but it's very common that when a kiddo is getting diagnosed, we start to see it kind of through the whole family dynamic.
Thank you for sharing that information. Now, if I may ask you this, would you be able to share more about your coaching methodology? What tools or frameworks do you find particularly effective in your coaching practice?
Yeah, I think my methodology is really rooted in creating a safe, compassionate space where my clients can feel seen and understood. I think I really just blend ADHD specific strategies, bringing in Christian biblical disciplines and scriptures, and really supporting my clients to kind of keep their focus on God, on God's plan. And there's this, we can sometimes feel broken when we have ADHD and feel like something's wrong with my brain. It's not working like everyone else's. And one of the things I love about my practice is really helping people get grounded in the belief and the truth in God's word that we are all created in God's image. There are no mistakes, right? Our brains are wired this way with intentionality. And I love to see that shift when I start working with someone and they come in with that belief, I'm broken. There's something wrong with me. I want you to help me fix all of this and make it go away. And through our coaching partnership together, there's this shift in perspective of like, wait, I'm not broken, right? I have these unique gifts and talents and strengths, and I can see the world in this way that, these other people can't. And we start to work on, yes, let's lean into that. Let's lean into those strengths and those talents rather than sitting in the weaknesses and the things that we're not doing well. Because let's be honest, we've spent too much time there. a lot of us, right? So I really think that that's kind of the tools and the space that I focus on creating for the people I work with.
That's great. When I was talking to one of the ADHD coach in the past, she did mention that ADHD is a blessing. How do you define that?
Yeah, you know what? I love that. I do. And
Yeah.
and then there's this piece that, that's hard to swallow when you're in the midst of the chaos and, you have ADHD and you're overstimulated, you're overwhelmed and stressed. It's really hard to say to someone, hey, ADHD is a gift. Right. I think that it takes everybody in their own time and in the right time to get to that perspective, but because it's not always going to show up in that way. It shows up as a gift when we start to hone it and understand how our brain works and how the world works and how we fit into that. When we figure out how to set boundaries, how to set parameters, what is me, what is you, all of those things, then we can start to see it as its gift because we can thrive, right? So I think there's that balance, right? I always think of Russell Barkley. He is one of the titans in the ADHD community. And when you listen to him speak, I always walk away feeling sad, right? Because he's just so medical about it. And it's the reality of what we experience with ADHD. Then you listen to Dr. Ned Hallowell, and he talks about unwrapping these beautiful gifts that we have, right? So we have those different perspectives. And I think for each person, it's helping them come to their understanding of how their brain works and letting them fall in love with themselves in their own unique way.
Talking about the medication itself, but not talking about Russell Barkley here, those people who are on the medication, who are on ADHD medications, how effective coaching becomes to get them off of that medication?
I think it's unique to each individual person. I think that medication is an important tool in our tool belt when managing ADHD. Is it for everyone? No, it's not, right? It's really about balancing the pros and the cons, right? And trying multiple different medications. It can help with a lot when you find the right medication. What can commonly happen is someone will try one medication and they're like, oh, it made me feel this way, I don't want to take anything. When the thing with ADHD medication is sometimes we have to try a few before we can actually find the one that works for us. Whereas you have some other people who take it and they say it's like putting glasses on for the first time. All the fog has gone away. So it can be a beautiful part of your treatment plan. When we're looking at ADHD, we really want to look at multiple ways of treating that. So that might look like exercise, medication, coaching, all of those different things kind of coming together.
So I understand about the commonality here, not just the exercise, not just the medications, not just the coaching, but combining all these elements together, blending everything into one. You have seen some success that can help people in coping with the ADHD.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the challenges. What are some challenges you observe among the families you work with, and how do you help them navigate this?
Yeah. And I think that this is a unique question and it's different for each family. But I think some of the commonalities that I see is families really struggling with communication and unmet expectations, right? So what we do know about ADHD is typically there is a developmental delay of up to 3 years. So if you have a 10-year-old, they're really functioning, at a 7, 8-year-old level. Right. So sometimes we can have unreasonable expectations set on our kiddo. And I'm not saying to have no expectations, right? But the more that we can partner and understand how ADHD is working and how ADHD is showing up in your kiddo, the more we can actually align your expectations with what is age appropriate. Right. And there's this thing, comparison is the thief of joy. Sometimes we can look around and see these other families functioning in this way. And we're like, oh, why can't my kids do that? Or why don't we get to do it that way? Or we can't go to these events because we have to stay on this routine. Because if not, then it's going to throw everything off. Right. And
Yeah.
I working with families to kind of look at that. What does work for your family, and not comparing to other families, because we're all unique, and leaning into that, I think, is really the key, and to empower each family member to just better understand and appreciate each other and what their gifts are, what their strengths are. How do we support each other as a family?
Yeah, thanks again. Thanks for sharing that as well. Now, let's pivot our conversation a little bit because I really wanted to get this out from you since you're a coach, navigating coaching and helping others choose coaching, that kind of thing. So, what are the qualities that are essential for somebody who's looking to become a life coach? And if they want to do like some kind of niche, they wanted to go into the ADHD, what are the qualities you think are essentials?
Yeah, I think it's heart. I
Yeah.
think it's having the heart to want to serve others. And this is what I see. I train hundreds of coaches a year. And the biggest thing that I see in all of my students and all the cohorts is just this heart for serving others and helping them, and just this deep compassion for supporting someone and meeting them where they are in this journey. Because a lot of ADHD life coaches have a lived experience with ADHD. And when I say that, it doesn't mean that you need to have ADHD to be an ADHD life coach. A lived experience is through, maybe having a kiddo that has ADHD, a spouse, a colleague. Maybe you work in a school with kids with ADHD, and you just have this heart for wanting to learn more, wanting to help these people really find their brilliance. Because a lot of people with ADHD spend a lot of time not knowing what they're great at, and hiding all of that because they're so focused on what they're not good at and trying to meet the world's standards. And as an ADHD life coach, we have this amazing privilege and honor
Mhm.
of meeting someone where they are and supporting them on that journey to discovering, wait, I am awesome. I am smart, right? I
Right.
might not be book smart, but I am smart in all of these other ways, right? So the biggest thing is having the heart and the compassion for people, and recognizing that coaching is a way of communicating that is
Mhm.
a lot different than a lot of the coaches that come to coaching. It's not about telling people what to do, or, I did this, so you do that. It's really about holding this space so that our clients can step into what is true for them.
It's a life changing activity, the transformation, the joy that you get from doing this transformation to your potential clients,
Yeah.
families. What advice do you give to those who just started their coaching career? And
Yeah.
it's they're like you said, you have tons of students, so maybe they're graduating, they're coming in. What advice you have for them is because when they're navigating the new landscape, it's very hard for them to understand what's out there, right? So from a person like you who's done it, been there, and then being very successful in your career. So we're looking for some level of advice that you can throw out to them.
Yeah. I love this question. And I think the biggest thing is hold on to your why. Hold on to what led you to that moment of pursuing coaching, because it is hard creating a business. It's so interesting when our students join, and I'm not any different. When I joined years ago, I didn't realize that I was going to be an entrepreneur and an ADHD life coach. No one really told me that there was these two different things. So one of the things I'm really proud of at our training program at the IX Center is we put a lot of effort into helping our students learn the professional model of coaching, but also build their business. And how do we put ourselves out there? The most important thing, and I think a part of the reason why I've had success, is because I am just authentically me. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I am just excited at the privilege to share with you what I get to do and how we're going to partner together. Right. And I think if we remember the why and the passion behind what sparked this journey and what led us to this moment, that's the fuel. That's the thing that's going to keep you going, even when it's hard, even when maybe you're having a little bit of trouble getting clients. Tapping into that will help you continue to move forward, because it's a part of that bigger that bigger mission that we all have. And for us as ADHD life coaches, it's really to stop the stigma of ADHD and to
Yeah.
spread this awareness around the world that this is okay, right? We are not broken. Yeah.
Heidi, it's interesting that one of my friends, he called me, said that I'm joining one of the biggest famous coaching institution that he's going to be joining, and he's thinking about becoming a life coach. So my obvious question was, why you want to become a life coach? And he has absolutely no idea what coaching is all about, right? So part of the reason that I established this Coaching Coach podcast is when I talk to the seasoned coaches like yourself, we want to get to that detail for the listeners that what coaching really is, whether or not the coaching is the right career or no, and also to clear out that particular misconception about coaching. So if you could talk a little bit about the misconception in coaching that could potentially help a lot of people who have some other level of understanding about the coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to even speak to your point. I think when we're starting out to being a coach, we have this idea of like, oh, I've walked this journey. I've done the transformation. I've done the research, especially with our ADHD community. Not very, all of them come into the program having done some deep dive research. And that misconception is I'm going to become a coach so that I can go and tell everybody what to do and say, hey, this will work and this will work. Right. And the reality is like you're talking, coaching is like learning a whole new language. It is a different way of communicating. It is what I tell my students, a different way of helping. You come into the program wanting to serve, wanting to help, wanting to build and encourage people. We're going to do all those things, but hang on, we're going to do it different. Right? There's a different way of showing up and helping. And often students think it's more of a mix of therapy, consulting, mentoring, advice giving.
Right.
Whereas we have this training and we have this experience. And it's not like we're saying, no, I'm just going to hold all this back and make you struggle. But who's to say our clients don't need to go through the struggle to build the character, to build the resilience, to learn about themselves, to get to the other side, right? We are, I like to say, thinking partners. We are going to help our clients hear themselves and see themselves in this way that they haven't been able to up until now, and then offer it back. Now that you see, now that you hear it in that way, what do you do? How do you move forward? Right. And we can still share tools and resources. Mostly the way I do that is in between sessions, just as things come across my desk and things that I could see that would align with where we are in our work together. But it really is. And I love that process when our students start. They're 15 in a cohort. I would say 10 of them think that coaching is telling people what to do. As we start to kind of sprinkle in what coaching is, you start to see kind of, wait a minute, this is different, but I'm interested and I'm willing to hear this. And then as we go through the program, just a few months in, this moment always is just warms my heart, where students start to realize coaching isn't what I thought, but it's even better than what I thought. It is even more empowering and life-giving than telling anyone what to do. And it's interesting because if we flip it a little bit, I say to my students sometimes, what if that were true? And we were responsible to have every strategy, every tool, all the advice for anyone's situation, and we don't even know what our clients are going to bring. What if we did have to know all of that? Right. That's pretty stressful. It's kind of good that we don't need to know it all, right? That we are helping our clients evoke what is actually already in them.
Yeah, and then part of it is an exploration as well. So when you're trying to explore things, you don't know what's out there, right? So that's also, once you explore it, you find more. So continuous exploration is definitely, people need to embed that when in this journey. Now, for you, how do you measure your success in coaching practice, both for yourself and for your clients as well?
Yeah, what a great question. I think success, how do we define that? What does success mean to you, right? And for me, success means seeing my clients step into who they were created to be, and hearing about, I would say seeing, but I don't get to see them step into it, but I get to hear them kind of explain and share about how they're showing up authentically as themselves, the person that they've always wanted to be. That is success. It's not about money. It's not about status. It's not about how many, places someone sees my name. It's about the people that I'm making connections with every single day and just watching them thrive, watching them flourish. That's the thing that lights me up. That's the thing that energizes me. And that even for my students, right? Watching these coaches start, I have such a privilege to go through this process 3 times a year, this transformational journey with all of these coaches, and watching them think, oh my goodness, I can't do this. I can't be a coach. How am I going to ask these questions? How am I going to do this? And then watching them do it and do it amazingly and build that confidence and that belief in themselves. And as a result, they're building that belief in their clients as creative, resourceful, and whole. And they're going out and changing the world. Right. So I think success for me is in all of the work in all of these areas. And it looks a little different, but in the end, it's really about watching people just step into who they are and believing in themselves.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Now, if I may ask you this question about the well-being and growth, when you're dealing with various clients of yours, I know you have tons of clients, how do you personally maintain the emotional aspect of that well-being and growth?
Yeah, what a great question. I think right away, core competencies are popping in my head, right? Of being able to self-regulate and self-manage. And I think that, and I teach this to my students too, because you know what? Yes, we're learning the professional model of coaching and how to show up as a coach, but guess what? We're human first. And we're creating these connections, these heart connections, and if my client is going through something hard, that's okay to feel that as well, right? And I'm going to stop and I'm going to support my client and just offer, wow, I can feel how hard that is and how heavy that is. And I'm going to sit there in that moment. And I'm not going to lie, there may have been a few tears here and there. And some coaches might be very against that. But like I said, it's that connection first. And I truly believe that does build trust and safety. It cultivates that with our clients. And I'm not saying that I'm going to cry hysterically, but if there's a moment and I might well up a little bit as well with my clients. I can feel their heartache. I can feel what they're going through. And by just holding that space and connecting with someone, I think that strengthens that relationship. And in the end, your client is able to go deeper. They're able to transform even more because guess what? They trust you at a very vulnerable, deep level. So I think that showing emotion in an appropriate way in coaching is really important to building that trust.
What a great thought. I really appreciate it. Now, time just flies and we're coming towards the end of this conversation. I really hate to break this conversation because I want to talk more, but because of the time constraint, what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, I think my final thoughts are coaching is a journey. It is a transformational journey. Whether you are seeking coaching and you're like, oh, you know what? I think I could benefit from journeying with a coach and going through that transformation. Or if you're listening and you're like, I want to become a coach. Either way, you're going through a journey and a transformational journey. You're going to be changing what you do to kind of who you are as a person, right? It's really about discovering yourself and your unique giftings and strengths and having that in alignment with your values and how you want to show up in the world. So yeah, I'm just very excited. I can't believe our time is over already.
It's all right. You can add more thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to kind of close, for anyone who's listening, and I know ADHD touches a lot of families just globally, right? ADHD does not discriminate. 1 in 5 people have ADHD. You alluded to the genetic component. So it is in so many families and so many families aren't talking about it. So many people don't have the opportunity or the person to talk to. And this is the space. This is where you can come and, explore ADHD, explore the challenges that you're having. I often forget this, to be honest, because I live, breathe, and eat ADHD coaching and Christian coaching. This is what I do all day and all in my dreams even, right? And I'm reminded sometimes that not everybody has this space to just be themselves and be seen and be heard and not have someone to fix it. How many times do we go to someone and say, hey, this is what I'm experiencing? And right away, that person goes into problem-solving mode. Let's fix it. Here's what I could do. Here's what you need to do. And coaching isn't that. It's sitting in that for a minute and just being heard and being seen and holding that space for someone to just process what they're experiencing without someone jumping in. We have enough people in our lives doing that. So coaching is really that safe space where you get to explore in this really unique and powerful way.
Yeah, trust is everything. Thank you so much, Heidi, for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed our conversation today.
That was Heidi Fishbein in a conversation with Prabin Sharma at Insight Ignite Coaching's Coaching Voices podcast. You can contact Heidi at coach.heidifishbein@gmail.com. That is coach.heidifishbein@gmail.com. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Coaching Voices podcast. I hope today's conversation gave you valuable insights into the world of coaching and leadership. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps others find the show and supports us in continuing to bring you inspiring content. Do not forget to share this episode with anyone you think might benefit from the discussion. And if you're looking to explore coaching further or have any questions, please feel free to connect with us. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep growing, keep leading, and stay curious.